BCW faithful and first-time viewers, welcome to the Curtain Call, a weekly pro wrestling show that gets you up to speed with everything going on in the world of BCW. And if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe below and follow BCW on all social media platforms. And if you're wondering who this ruggedly, and I mean ruggedly handsome individual is with these melodious tones piping right through your speakerphone, I am your host, the host that covers the most, Jimmy J. And now that I got myself got that out of the way, we can talk BCW. And folks, faithful, last week we had a tremendous sit-down interview with the governor of BCW, Governor AJ Pan. And BCW management was just so happy, so thrilled with that conversation with Governor Pan and the entire episode that they said, you know what, Jimmy? The floor is yours. You are going to pick who you want to speak to this week. And I had to think about it. And I only thought about it for 30 seconds because one man came to my mind. The man that was one of the two that got me hooked on independent wrestling. And his name, Anthony Gangone. And I sat down with Mr. Gangone via Skype, and I finally got the opportunity to thank him for that. And I thanked his opponent a few months ago, Joe Gacy. But Gangone has been one of my personal favorites ever since watching him in that match at that particular organization, which we talk about in this interview. So, without further ado, enough of me talking. Let's get right to the interview, the conversation with Mr. Anthony Gangone.
This is take two. We are live, pal, right now because yours truly right here, Jimmy J, didn't press the record button. We had a great conversation that never happened. But now, we're going to redo that conversation. With me today, none other than the one above all, the rogue, Mr. Anthony Gangone. Mr. Gangone, how you been, buddy?
I'm good. It's nice to talk to you again today for the second time. But the conversation did happen. It's just us talking to each other. But yeah,
I got to thank you first and foremost because it was you and another gentleman, Joe Gacy. It was April 22nd. It was this week, 3 years ago, April 22nd, 2017. House of Glory, New World Rising. It was you and Gacy, main event, street fight. My first independent wrestling show. And I got to say, the card was solid, but you guys put on just an incredible match that got me hooked on indie wrestling. And I have to thank you, man. I never got an opportunity to do so, and I'm thanking you now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because every match is important to me, especially the day of, and then until the next one. But, you know, it's kind of, it's nice to hear when a match kind of inspires someone or it touches someone in a way or changes their life in a way. And in your case, you know, you got turned on to independent wrestling, which now you're a part of and you're a part of the community and you have a love and passion for it. So it's kind of, you know, me and Gacy just went out there and tried to have the best match possible. I know for me at the time, it wasn't really a match that some people wanted to have, but I kind of knew that me and Gacy would have good chemistry at least that day, and later, you know, that later turned into a feud, which wasn't as successful as that match, but yeah, we started wrestling all over the East Coast after that, but yeah.
Dude, not only the East Coast, but that day you wrestled all over the arena. That street fight, it was all over the place, man. It was a tough match. And I know you've been in a lot of tough matches, and you faced a lot of tough people. But who comes to mind as the toughest that you stepped in the ring with?
Yeah, I think there's not too many people that I would say are legit tough guys nowadays. You know, it's kind of hard to say, especially like whenever I think about tough guys, I think of like Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen. And it's just like, I would never think those guys would like tweet about fighting someone or something like that. It just seems so stupid. But I think one of the toughest people that I was in the ring with, no doubt, is Dan Moff. I don't particularly think of myself as a tough guy, but I know for a fact that if me and Moff ever tussled in real life. I would come out on the losing end. I would try to get my shots in, but I would come out on the losing end of that one. So yeah, I would say Dan Moff.
Dude, at least you admit it. A lot of people they walk around with their chest out nowadays, and
Yeah.
not a lot of wrestlers. But like you said, there's a lot of fake tough guys out there. A lot of what I call sissy Marys. But it is what it is. You wrestled in a lot of organizations. I know you from House of Glory. You've been there for a long time, but you're still their world champion, right?
Am I still a world champion? I mean, that's kind of the $1,000,000 question, and I guess that would be for somebody else to answer. I mean, there's never been a statement from anybody that I guess matters when that to that degree. So I don't know. I guess one day we might see it in a documentary or something.
Dude, I got to be honest with you. In my opinion, okay, and I'm going to say that one more time. My opinion, I've seen a lot of people wrestle in that organization. You've held that company on your back. You did a hell of a job with that world championship with the House of Gangone. We talked about this even in our previous conversation, which was a few hours ago. Your entrances really, that's what it did it for me, man. I mean, you had some real cool entrances. A lot of people would say too. How did you prepare for these matches? I mean, did you set that whole thing up? Was it like something that you really wanted to make a spectacle of, like the entrance?
I think so. The thing is that a lot of my career, I think people, for some reason, always group people in a box, and I always felt like people just thought of me as just a good hand or just a wrestler. I didn't have a gimmick, whatever. And I watched a Macho Man DVD and documentary where he said, he wore all these robes to stand out because he wasn't, believe it or not, being the height that he was, which I think was like 6 foot, 6'1", he wasn't a big wrestler at that time. So I kind of took that inspiration to kind of make myself larger than life without necessarily devaluing what I did in the ring. Because a lot of times, and The Undertaker kind of spoke about this in his Stone Cold podcast, where he talked about that he wasn't really allowed, or didn't fit his character to be or try to have great matches or be like a great wrestler. He had to kind of be the zombie, undead wrestler. And I never, once the bell rings, and of course there's my character in there, but once the bell rings, I really focused on being the best wrestler I can be. And as far as the entrances, I mean, the inspirations, like Christmas Krampus entrance, that did happen at an anniversary show against Shane Strickland. And it's just, am a fan of Christmas, and I thought, well, how would my character view Christmas? And he would be the Krampus, the anti-Santa Claus of the holiday. So that was a lot of fun creating. I created most of that costume myself, and so.
Dude, I didn't know you were a Christmas fan. I thought I see a lot of horror in the background over there. I mean, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, favorite Christmas movie? It has to be It's a Wonderful Life. I think the message of that movie is that, this guy, George Bailey, he sacrificed himself so much for his community, his family, his friends, when they needed help. And, it was a rough time for him ultimately, but ultimately people paid it back to him. It came back to him. I mean, he became the richest person in the town. So, I try every day, and I fail many times, but I try every day to kind of be the best George Bailey I could be. So I would say It's a Wonderful Life.
Dude, you do an incredible job, in my opinion, man. Whatever you do out there, whether it's performing in the ring, on the microphone as well, you're very well-rounded. I'm surprised, nobody picked you up yet, and it really shocks me. But if you had your pick, if they said, "Hey, Gangone, pick where you want to go," where would it be, and why?
I think that I truly love being an independent wrestler. Like I came in with a love for independent wrestling. I was a fan of it since I was a teenager. So I wanted to kind of be the king of the indies. But as far as like a major company, I love Japanese wrestling. So if it was a foreign company, probably New Japan. If it's in the States, probably AEW. And the reason for that, I think AEW has shown that you can be good to the wrestlers. You don't have to treat them like cattle, that they're just there to do the job. I truly believe in um, morality and business doesn't necessarily have to be separated. It does seem that way, and many people hide behind that word, oh, it's just business. But I think that AEW thus far, and I do have a decent amount of friends there, have treated their wrestlers backstage very well. And when you're in the business, that's very important. Other than, obviously the creative aspect, but also being treated like you're valued.
I mean, that is important, man, because everybody I think that goes out there, they make a sacrifice. I mean, you never know what can happen. People, you guys put your body on the line, and management, they should appreciate that. They should respect that. They should respect you. I mean, they want to throw around that term business. Okay, it is a business, so why not treat you guys like you're, employees, and you got to care about your employees, right? And they want to treat you like you're just a number. And it's unfortunate, but in the independent wrestling scene, there are a lot of companies I can vouch for that take care of their talent out here, and it's cool. It's cool to see the fans and the fan base, because the environment in indie wrestling is very intimate. And I got to ask you though, you've been around for quite some time. What do you think was the major change in indie wrestling from the time you started till right now?
Major change. I would say, like, I started, my first match was in the spring of 2012. I think I was 19 or 20 at the time. And yeah, so I would say the biggest change is that the internet really became really big for independent wrestling. I mean, now you have streaming services for it, Fight TV, so like pretty much any indie company has a way to stream their content. And I wouldn't necessarily, you had YouTube at the time, but I wouldn't necessarily say, that was in the days where like Go Fight Me was the only like streaming service for wrestling, and it was like horrible as a fan, because it's like it would continuously stop, and you don't necessarily have that now. So I think like the way that we consume wrestling is different. I think at that time I was a bit more naive to what independent wrestling was or is. I always thought it was about, just everyone trying their hardest to entertain the crowd and be the best wrestler they can be. And that's not necessarily how independent wrestling is, but you could say that about any business, whether entertainment or not entertainment. There's always going to be people that are trying to kind of take shortcuts within the system. But yeah, I mean, I guess those two aspects are pretty glaring to me.
Oh, dude, you've been around a lot of people, and you've been in a lot of organizations, like I said before. You faced a lot of people. I've said that also. But who haven't you faced that you want to step in the ring with?
I would say that so I have dream matches, but I think two of the possibilities that could actually happen in the near future, whenever indie wrestling comes back, or wrestling in general, I think it would be like Austin Aries. Him and Nigel McGuinness, they had a match in New York City for Rising Above. That really, to go from watching WWE to this more realistic style that Ring of Honor had, more MMA influenced at the time. It was just incredible. It just felt like cold water was like splashed on my face. I just like opened up my eyes. And so Aries was always someone I looked up to, because we were similar height, and he's always been awesome to me. I always worry about meeting people, because they tend to let you down sometimes or disappoint you. But every time I've spoken to Aries, or I've seen him at a show, or even online sometimes, he's always been incredible to me, very nice. And I'm glad because he kind of has a certain reputation that wrestling is just like high school. It's just
Oh, dude.
one person says something, then everybody believes it, and it's just that could be just that one person's experience or highly exaggerated. But he's always been great to me, so that's definitely a match I would love to have. It was actually Aries for a company I worked for was brought in specifically to wrestle me because the owner knew that that was my dream match, and I had to choose between my dream match and what was best for a storyline or a match, and I went with the storyline and what was best for the company, not necessarily my own personal kind of dream match. So I don't necessarily regret it. I mean, some days it's like, oh fuck, that was my opportunity. But also someone else, Chris Hero, who was recently released. I actually shared locker rooms with him as well. But he's another guy that I would like to face. I mean, I was kind of a Chris Hero ripoff for like the first 6 months of my career. So,
Dude, I would love to see either one of those matches. Because again, like I said, man, you're extremely talented. We want to see you back in BCW. Is that something that can come to fruition?
I mean, I wrestled there one time. There's constantly been talks between myself and Anthony throughout the years. We've only been able to make that one night work out. But I, as long as the door is open, I think Anthony enjoyed what I did that night. It was a handicap match, and I did lose to a one-armed Eric Jaden. But I feel like I have a lot more to offer to BCW if they would like to have me back, and I would definitely enjoy coming back to it.
Dude, that door is wide open. Okay, we would love to have you back here. As a matter of fact, once things get back to normal, or whenever that's going to be, we're going to give you a front row seat to the anniversary show, and maybe we can have a little sit down. You, myself, Mr. Cole, and we can work something out, man. Because again, I know there's more for Anthony Gangone in the future. I know you're going to be on mainstream. I can see it already. TV. You got a lot. Forget about potential. You have it. Okay. There's a lot of people that talk about that it. They throw that term around a lot, man. But I got to be honest with you. You're one of the few people I've seen out here that has it. Overall, man. In my opinion. Okay. So we would definitely love to have you back on BCW before you hit that main stage. But it's funny because you talk about dream matches. And I remember something that had happened at HOG, and you called out a certain individual. And this was a match that I was hoping to see, and it never came to fruition. And his name, Mr. Ready to Rumble himself, David Arquette. What happened with this whole scenario? I don't know if you can walk us through this.
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea was he was wrestling at the time, and he was kind of doing a little comeback. And the idea at the time is that I was going to call him out, and then eventually we would have a match. But the thing is that I called him out prior to us or the powers that be had a true conversation with him. So I called him out. There was some talk to do it through friends and eventually what management was able to get. But I was supposed to face him during that Mania weekend show. I was not supposed to face Robbie Eagles, and that fell through. And ultimately, the person in power decided that Robbie Eagles would be the better opponent for me, and which I enjoyed that match. It was the second match on the show as the world champion, but. Yeah, it was a fine match, and I really enjoy Robbie. He was a great talent and individual to work with. And actually, what happened after the match, where Smiley was reborn, was probably my favorite, and maybe one of my best promos that I ever cut. But yeah,
dude, maybe we can make that happen. Maybe in BCW, who knows? Imagine you and Arquette. Imagine that triple steel cage. I mean, I'm overthinking it right now, but like triple steel cage.
The thing is that I don't think Arquette knew what Hog was, and that I assume that he probably had where he wants to only wrestle in certain places, not necessarily smaller indies, but as far as New York wise, Hog was a pretty good indie. People may not know what Hog is outside of wrestlers, uh, be for various reasons, and I don't think he knew what Hog was, and that it wasn't just a small indie. It was actually a pretty decent sized indie as far as live attendance and look and appearance.
There's a lot of independent organizations out here, and once we get back up and running, who are you going to be working with predominantly?
I mean, man, I had at least a couple shows a week I think it was until September, but I assume all that is just tossed out the window. I mean, I work at CCW right now. I worked at Excite upstate. I was going to Canada. There was a strong possibility to go overseas during the summer/fall. But yeah, I mean, those are kind of the two mainstays. Synergy is another one, which is a great company that I work for. Maybe BCW, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, those are the companies. I actually went to LA during the fall for B-Boys promotion, so that was kind of cool. And I definitely would like to leave the tri-state East Coast area and kind of branch out because I think it's time, probably overdue to do that.
Oh yeah, man. Where would you hit first?
Probably maybe I would like to go to Atlanta. I would like to go to Florida. I would like to go to Chicago, Texas, maybe even Las Vegas. So those kind of areas as far as within the states, but UK is definitely a place I would like to wrestle at as well, or Germany, obviously Japan.
Segueing right now though, off of wrestling, we want to know a little bit about Mr. Anthony Gangone. What does he do in his free time other than wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if free time I necessarily wrestle.
Well. Watch wrestling or you know.
Yeah. So just I watch horror movies, kind of hustle along with certain aspects that aren't necessarily wrestling related. I do a hobby podcast about horror movies as well. Just watch movies, hang out with people that are within my circle. I have a great girlfriend as well now, and we have some fun. So.
That's a great hobby, Gangone. I tell you, I encourage it. Keep going. But you said you do a horror podcast, man. What's the name of that podcast?
It's called the Chillin' Killin' Podcast, which is a play off a scary movie with the what's up kind of segment. So yeah, we just talk about like car news and some discussion about films. So it's just a hobby just to get it out of my system once a week or so. So yeah.
Dude, that's awesome because I see all the pictures in the background. Michael Myers, my personal favorite, the Candyman, and behind you that welcome the Camp Crystal Lake over there. I mean, where did you get all this stuff? Memorabilia.
Some of these are paintings by certain artists. The Welcome to Crystal Lake probably came from like not a Party City, but like one of those Halloween stores. So yeah, it's really a passion of mine is horror films. I really enjoy them, the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it. And I think it stems from my childhood when I was younger, when my dad showed me like the Universal Monsters and Abbott Costello, and from that growing up, then I came into contact with the likes of Michael and Jason and other horror films. So
this is going to be a couple quick questions for you, horror related. Favorite Michael Myers film?
Well, I think it's no contest. The original film is by far to me the best one.
The newer one that they had with Jamie Lee Curtis in 2018 was a damn good Halloween, and it picks up from the first one. So it kind of like you forget about all the other ones, and it goes straight from like one to that one. And they're in the works of making a Halloween Kills and the Halloween Ends, I believe. What do you think about these remakes?
Yeah, I mean, I think For me, I was fine with rebooting the series as long as that first one was still there. I really enjoyed 2018. I thought it was the most Michael that we've gotten thus far, and he was definitely updated. I know Halloween Kills, they finished filming. They actually did a couple test screenings already. I don't know if it is still coming out because of marketing and all that. So we'll see. It might be pushed back to next year. That's kind of a film where you kind of only can put it out in October. I know that Rob Zombie put out his films in the summer, but to me, it's only a October related film. But yeah, I mean, I really love those. Even Halloween 3. I love Halloween 3.
Really?
It's not, yeah, I enjoy it. I take it for what it is. It's not a Michael Myers film. I love the villain. I think Tom Atkins in that movie is fantastic. I'm not going to say it's the greatest film, but there's definitely way worse within the series, which is Halloween 5.
Oh God, yes, I'm with you on that one. I 5. I can't. I don't like 5 and I don't like 3. And at least with 6, with the Curse of Michael Myers, they made it make a little bit of sense. They made 3 make sense.
Yeah.
With the Curse, but 5 was, I don't know, 5 was weird. 4, I enjoyed 4.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
A lot of people enjoy 4, but for me it was just like, I think the fact that that was kind of the start of Loomis being unintentionally funny within the series. And then also I feel that it wasn't Michael. I mean, in the first movie, Michael was very like you didn't get to see a lot of what he did. 2, you did see more, but it wasn't as brutal. Like 4, there was a scene where Michael like rips someone's throat out, and it's just like he's supposed to be supernatural. I think there is elements of that in the first one, especially the ending. But I just thought it went too far as my liking of what Michael Myers is.
Absolutely, I can agree with you on that one. And moving on to the other films that I see in the background over there, Jason. Friday the 13th. Which one? Top.
I would say the first one right now is my favorite. Still, that's the one without Jason. Technically, but believe it or not, my favorite actual Jason is from the remake. I thought the remake itself is not very good, especially dialogue. It's very CW like. And if you ever seen any CW show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I thought the Jason itself was great, and I think the way they incorporated the first 3 movies within that and making Jason a survivalist, I think really was an element that I enjoyed. But as far as the best one for me thus far, it's definitely 1. Although the one with and I forget which number it was, but the one with Corey Feldman at the end, where he kind of does a Jamie from the Halloween series. I think it's part 4. I also think that was fun. Yeah.
I think it was. I like 6. Jason Lives. I don't know. A lot of people don't like this one, but Jason Goes to Hell. I enjoyed that movie. My wife hates it. Okay, she's a horror fan too. She hates it. She loves Michael Myers. Her favorite film of all time. She could sit there all day watching Halloween 1, all day long. But when it comes to Jason, I try to put on, you're watching the same ones. I don't know. I enjoy certain ones. It is what it is. Like, you got yours over there. And there's one last guy that we can't see right now, but he's there, right there. Oh, yeah. Freddy. Nightmare on Elm Street, baby. Listen, I love the whole series. I love the storyline behind it. What is your personal favorite Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, see, I have to go again with the original. I know a lot of people, and we talked about this earlier, including yourself, enjoy Dream Warriors, which is like the Avengers of Freddy films. But yeah, I like the first one a lot. I think it had a nice balance of wacky Freddy and being serious still. And New Nightmare, a lot of people talk about as well, which I think is a fine film as well. But the first one is definitely my favorite.
Dude, I gotta listen to your podcast. Never listened to it yet, so you gotta let us know later on where we can find it. It's on. Well, matter of fact, let us know now. It's on all platforms. You can find it like
Yeah,
Google, Spotify.
it's on iTunes, Apple Music, sorry, Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. It's all over. So we have like 23 episodes out. We're actually putting out The Thing tomorrow from John Carpenter. I think that's 1981. That's coming out tomorrow. So if you enjoy, just a lot of people have a decent amount of time nowadays.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just a conversation for 30 minutes to an hour, just about horror movies. Try to have fun with it. So
And you said it. A lot of people have time right now, and it's almost like its own horror movie, real life right now, with this whole pandemic going on. And it can get very depressing. All right, and mental health is real. Cabin fever is real. People are going through it right now. I know that you're a mental health advocate, and I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I'm going to ask you. Do you want to tell everybody your story? I've seen something on social media, maybe about a year ago or so, about something that you were going through. If you want, you could talk about it right now and let the fans know exactly what happened.
yeah, there was like an unfortunate situation where certain people kind of told my medical history just to make someone happy with them that they were kind of on the outs with. So, but it was fine. It was a negative situation, but it turned out to be really great for me. And apparently it helped a lot of people because I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2017. And it was hard to swallow for a long time. To kind of accept that, but eventually I did, and uh, even though it wasn't necessarily on my own terms, I was able to speak about it on my own terms, and I don't. It's nothing. I just told kind of a little bit of my story, but apparently that resonated with a lot of people. I got hundreds of messages that day that I wasn't really expecting, and it seemed to help a lot of people. And I still to this day have people come up to me at indie shows and kind of tell me about their story. And I think I have a moral obligation as a semi-public figure to try to be the best person I can be and kind of help others out other than myself. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, mental health is real. I know there's a lot of people right now that are worried about money and how they're gonna pay the bills, worried about food and all that, and those are all legitimate. And I mean, the way I was not in greatest of places at times, uh, in coordination with my mental health. And I think what I found is that the best thing to do is a combination of therapy, medicines, which medicines themselves, it's like a trial and error situation. What works for one person, in my case, like lithium, I felt like a zombie on, it didn't necessarily work for me, but it would work for somebody else to kind of level them out. And also just having positive people around you and a positive mindset. And I think I lost that for a good amount of time, but now for me, I'm in the best place that I can be, even through this pandemic. But I think a lot of people just try your best, and it's hard. But
Yeah.
try your best to find the small things. Like I'm just happy to be home with my dogs for a long time and with my loved ones for a good amount of time that I wouldn't necessarily have while I was working or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, everyone's worried or stressed out about bills and money, but we will come out some way. And it's no, the problems are there regardless if you're negative or positive about it. So it's better to be positive for your own health.
No, absolutely, dude. And you mentioned dogs. What kind of dogs you got?
Yeah, I have a husky who's 11 years old, and I have a pit bull terrier mix, which I rescued in December. And yeah, she's great. I always, I got the dog 11 years ago, but I paid for it. But I always said other dogs in my future I would like to rescue or take from a shelter, and she was one of them. And she's great, and she was in the system for a long time as well, like a year. At least that's the information that they gave me. And I couldn't understand it. She's the sweetest thing in the world. So
That's awesome, man. Dogs help a lot, and I miss my dog. My dog actually passed away last year. It was a pit bull German Shepherd mix. But she was older. She got to the point where she couldn't really walk anymore, and we just, she was just laying there dying, and she was suffering. So we had to put her down. But you know what? When she was here, man, I'll tell you, it got me through some rough days. Got me through some, and it's weird how animals can help like that. They really can.
yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I'm gonna go to the most extreme situation, but you can go and murder someone and come home, and that dog will still not judge you and love you.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just, any time that we get, I feel, quote unquote, blessed to just have any time with my dogs, whether it's a short amount or not, because they're just happy to see you and happy to be with you. And you don't necessarily get that with people sometimes, but
Expect sometimes.
but it's just I think we as human beings don't necessarily deserve that kind of love because of how we act sometimes. But just dogs are just incredible. All pets really, but dogs in particular in my case. I love dogs. So
Yeah, they show that unconditional love, man.
yeah.
I got a couple random questions for you. So where'd you grow up? It was New York City?
Yes. I was actually born on Queens Boulevard.
On the boulevard itself.
Practically. I was hanging on to your umbilical cord. But I was born at St. John's Hospital. So
Okay.
yeah. So that I was always a city person for a long time. So yeah. So that Queens, Brooklyn, that kind of area, depending on the time frame of my life.
Yeah, no, same here. I was Queens, Brooklyn. What are you, Italian American?
Yes, yes. It's actually funny because a lot of people are not sure what my ethnicity is, or my nationality, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, both really. So they always like to play the guessing game and possibly throw some very racist remarks at me,
Oh,
which is fine because I'm just a white Italian dude. But I would feel, more effective if I was, and I feel horrible for people that actually have to deal with that constantly. I think it's more funny because their ignorance is they're insulting a white dude and they can't tell that. So it just makes people look very stupid to me.
It does. I got to know. What are some of the things they're saying?
Lots of ISIS jokes.
Oh my God.
Middle Eastern jokes, which is just
Oh my God.
so stupid because it's just like, to me, everybody's human, no matter where you come from, your sexual orientation, any of that. It's just, we're all human. It's so stupid to insult anybody for where they're from or the color of their skin or sexuality, religion, whatever. It's just all dumb. And it's just like, even if we were all the same,
Yeah.
and we all had different color hair, we would find the redheads would fight the brunettes, and it's just so stupid.
It's a society. That's how people are, man. And they just, it's like everybody's trying to get over. That's what I feel like, especially on social media nowadays. People putting others down, and so much negativity. Gangone, we need to spread this positivity right now. And there are some people out there. There are some people spreading the positivity, and you talk about comments maybe made in your direction and whatnot. But there's one individual who she wanted me to give you a shout out on here right now. And actually, as a matter of fact, you're number one in her eyes, number one husband on that list. And that's Tiff from the AEW podcast and the No Holds Barred Network. So she wanted me to let you know that you're still the one, still number one.
I mean, that's when I was a little kid, I always just wanted to be number one on her list. So I'm glad I was able to accomplish that. I was demoted at one point to 3, but apparently that there was some bad juju in her life after that, and she put me back at 1, and then her life became great again. So
Make your life great again. Put
Yeah.
Gangone females. Put them at number one.
So,
Yes.
yes.
So she wanted me to give you that little message over there. I'm pretty sure she gives you the message every day. Well, dude, I want to see you back in the ring in action again. It's been a blessing watching a lot of your matches. I feel like I've been blessed, going to a lot of these shows at HOG. And to be honest with you, I've never been to a CZW show. I've seen some of them over the internet or whatnot. Again, you don't disappoint, man. I told somebody this earlier in a conversation. As a matter of fact, after our first conversation that was never recorded, I had another conversation for somebody else's show. And I mentioned you and Mr. Carter. You guys, both of you, are my top two, seriously, wrestlers right now, period, I think. Even mainstream, because I look at some of the mainstream and it's like, they lack that superstar, okay? And even the characters, like you were saying before, it's about characters. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I grew up on is, like Jake Roberts and Ultimate Warrior. And it's just like, I always feel like people think like they have to be separated. It's either you have great matches and no characters, or great stories and horrible wrestling. And they don't have to be separated. I mean, that's what wrestling is, It's you could call it sports entertainment. Sports entertainment it's pro wrestling. It's the same.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. So, I think those are necessary. I think it's a lost art how telling stories at all. Because most places don't really have storylines, period. It's just one guy wrestling another, or a woman, or whatever the case is. And that's fine to a degree, but I can't really see the excitement of it without some kind of story leading to that big match or whatever, because there's only so many dream matches out there. And Darius, and I'm going to try to talk about him very quickly, because anytime he's asked about me, he gives me like 10 seconds and then talks about himself. So Darius is a great character. He does so much with so little, and when it comes to moves sets and things of that nature. And he's a decent person. There you go.
Because now on to you again, because I know, Carter, you're right. In all due respect to Carter, he'll put somebody over, and then he'll be like, yeah, exactly, just like myself. And I love that about it, though, man.
That's great, man. I wish I loved myself that much.
God damn, Gangone, you should. You're a hell of a talent, man. You're a hell of a human being, period. All right? If more people were like you, dude, this world would be a better place. I'll be honest with you. So I appreciate you. I know a lot of everybody else out here really does. Tiffany especially does. Everybody in the BCW family does. And this is why we do the curtain call over here, because we want to keep everybody up to speed with what's going on with BCW. We want to stand out from these other organizations. We have storylines. We want a role with these storylines, filming, outside of here as well, with some of the talent. And that's something we want to continue to do and hopefully do and make you a part of that. So right now, I want to give you the floor. I want you to say anything that's on your mind. It doesn't have to be wrestling related. Anything that you want to talk about, or any message that you want to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it's just, try to be positive and just try to be the best you can be. And it's okay to fail at that, but just continue to try to be the best person you can be. There's so many people out there that, apparently everyone was just born perfect. I wish I was. But I mean, I think you have to work at being a decent human being and being honest with yourself. And like, that's the thing that I would say. It's just like, don't be biased towards yourself. If you look at a situation, just try to do it without being biased, and you may even be wrong in it, and accept being wrong in it, and do whatever you can to make that right. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the best thing I could say right now.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Anthony Gangone. Instagram, there is an underscore at the end. And you can find me on Facebook as well. The Chillin' Killin' podcast you can find on all platforms. And you can find us on social media at Chillin' Killin' P1. So if you're into horror movies or anything film related, that's the place for you. And yeah, that's pro wrestling tees, but do not buy any until unless you're financially stable right now, working or have a good amount of money saved up. Because with the pandemic, a lot of things are up in the air. But if you do pro wrestling tees, Anthony Gangone, you can find me there. And yeah, those are all the places.
Dude, I'm buying a shirt, and I promise you right now, I've told everybody this after the interview, after I talked to a talent or whatnot, and my return, because for you guys taking the time, I buy some merch. I like that Escape from New York shirt, people. You got to check that one out. So I'm gonna look at that at Pro Wrestling Tees right now. Anthony, it's been an honor talking to you, buddy. Hope to see you soon. Can't wait till this all passes. And on a side note, okay, you got to come out. You got an open invitation. We do watch parties, okay? Shot of Wrestling for wrestling shows, beer, wings, and wrestling. Buffalo Wild Wings. There's wild things at Wild Wings, and you, my friend, you're invited.
Well, I appreciate that, and I might take you up on that, mostly for the wings. I love chicken wings, so yeah. Wild things at Wild Wings. I love it.
There we go. That's it. We got to promote it. We got a sponsorship already. Jesus.
There you go.
Listen, brother, I appreciate you taking the time, man. God bless. Be safe. And if you need anything, contact me. That's it. I'm here for everybody.
Well, thank you for having me. And as a side note, before we leave, I want to thank you. Prior to doing what you're doing at BCW, you used to kind of do things on your own and put over independent wrestling and a lot of things that I was doing. I just want to thank you for that and being a positive influence on the independent wrestling community, and everything that you're doing now at BCW. It's really nice to see your growth within independent wrestling, and it's good to have you there. And you definitely have a voice for wrestling, and it's going to be great to see you continue to grow within the business.
Dude, that means a lot for me, man. And I want to call one of your matches hopefully one day.
Oh, all right. Wait, we can do a cinematic match.
Why not? Hey, listen, I might have it's an idea for my channel, my personal channel. Maybe we can watch back an old Gangone match and we can do some commentary on it.
All right, I'm not against that.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate those kind words. I appreciate you taking the time, folks. Anthony Gangone. You can follow him. You know where to follow him. He said it already. Listen. All right, we're going to be right back with the 5 minutes of faith with the faithful.
Often we use the term underrated in pro wrestling. But this is one of the instances where you need to use that term, underrated, because Anthony Gangone is underrated. He is a tremendous talent, a character. I mean, somebody that would be an asset to anyone's company. I don't understand why this man has not been signed yet. But at least he's blessing us in the independent wrestling scene. And I want to personally thank you, Mr. Gangone, for taking the time, coming onto the show, and for getting me hooked on independent wrestling. Thank you once again, buddy. I can't wait to see you and speak to you soon. But right now, faithful, it is time for my favorite segment of the week, the 5 minutes of faith with you guys. Yeah, the faithful. So, without further ado, here is this week's faithful BCW member.
All right, it's that time of the show right now. My favorite portion of the show, BCW Faithful. It is 5 minutes of faith with the faithful. And I have a very special guest this week. Not only is he a faithful BCW fan, but he's a faithful independent wrestling fan, a wrestling fan, and a man that actually was on the verge of starting his own promotion, Invictus. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the name? Did I get it right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Starting his own promotion. I'm going to let him explain everything right now. His name, Mr. Alex. I said, Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, all things considered, man. It's been a wild few weeks, especially for us wrestling fans, but we're taking it day by day. I got my pathetic attempt at a quarantine beard here. So, just binging wrestling, having a good time. Yeah, as you mentioned, I was on the verge of getting my own promotion started upstate, up in Westchester County. And, obviously then we got hit with this whole pandemic, and it sucks. It's a crappy situation, but, I think it's almost like a blessing in disguise in a way, because it was a headache, getting all the paperwork and stuff in order, and it kind of delayed our timeline a little bit. But in a way, I think it's good because we hadn't, gotten to the point where we were spending money that we couldn't recoup yet because the date hadn't approached. We were thinking June 20th originally, but I gotta say, man, it has been very encouraging just to see how supportive the indie community is here in New York. I was obviously coming to your watch parties over at Buffalo Wild Wings,
Appreciate you coming.
getting to meet, fans and workers and promoters, and just everyone's so open with giving advice. Obviously this is my first time attempting something on this scale. So and even like when I, commented on your post, asking to come on here, like within an hour of commenting, I've got like 5 new likes on my page. Just total strangers, people that I'd never met before, but we're all brought together by this one common thing, this one common thread of indie wrestling. It's great.
Hey, listen, Shadow Wrestling promotes wrestling, brings us together, and I believe it does, man. And we will be together soon. In the meantime, all we can do is just watch and plan. And do you have any plans?
Of course. I mean, right now, the biggest priority is just staying safe, staying sane, and getting to the other side of this thing. But I saw a post on Facebook the other day that got me thinking. I should have written it down, but it was something to the effect of, when you make it to the other side of this thing, think of it as your second life. Use that time to take care of yourself, start that diet, get healthy, pursue your hobbies. And it got me thinking, what is wrestling's second life going to look like? Because it's not going to be the same. It can't be the same. But my hope is that the changes that occur and the changes that take place are going to be changes for the better. So I'm thinking that what that's going to look like, we've already been seeing a lot of wrestlers, a lot of promotions have been getting very creative with social media, ways to promote their product and their brand, which is great. So that's definitely something I think we could take forward on the bigger leagues. These cinematic matches, I know people have some different opinions on them. I personally hope it's something that sticks. And I think in general, the indie wrestling scene was, I would say, at an all-time high before this whole thing happened. And I think I'm very optimistic that we can keep that momentum going. It's going to take some changes, but I'm hoping that, it's going to become a lot more collaborative. I'd like to see, different indie promotions kind of helping each other out. I suspect there's going to be a lot of interpromotional works. We might see a few invasion angles coming out of this, which would be great. But I think, really pooling our resources, we could do some big things. Not that, the New York indie scene, I was saying the other day, we're spoiled. We really are. We got so many great promotions, and we got such a deep talent pool that, I think if we're really, if we come together and we can, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I said, pool our resources. We can bring in top tier talent from not only all across the country, but I'm thinking even internationally. So I think the sky is really going to be the limit, on the other side of this thing. And I'm hoping that Invictus will be a part of that. I'm hoping, BCW will be a part of that. And the future's bright. It may not seem that way right now, but the future's bright.
I can tell you right now, I know for sure, BCW, we're definitely going to be a part of this. We've been planning. We have some things going. The show must go on. And as you see here, we've been putting out as much content as we can, week by week. And I'm damn sure that your company, because, I know you outside of here. You did a little work. You still do a little work for MLW as well. I know the kind of person you are. You're a very genuine individual. And I don't see anybody, going to have a problem. There's no doubt in my mind. There's not going to be any issues with you in this company as far as, talent getting paid, because you hear a lot of horror stories.
You do.
I know who you are. So, I got good faith in your company, and it's going to be successful, man. And, bringing everybody together, the company-wise, I think that's a smart move. If some of these companies do that, once we get back to quote-unquote normal, whatever the normal is going to be, who knows, man? I was even thinking, what are we going to have, like, seats 6 feet apart from each other at these events when they first start. Who knows what they're going to do, what protocol is going to be implemented, but I do know that the shows are going to happen. And I know that the fans have been clamoring. They've been sitting here. They've been waiting, and you and I are both fans as well. We've been waiting for a show to happen, like just something to do on the weekends. Once this whole pandemic, I guess subsides a little bit or whatnot, I mean, as soon as the first show comes out, Alex, you know this, man, it's going to get swarmed with people. I think it's going to be successful. And anybody who has a show in the first month of things opening up, it's going to be a huge success, I believe. But let me ask you, have you ever been to a BCW show? I
have not, but obviously looking forward to going post-pandemic. But I have been I've been binging the BCW shows on IWTV. Wow. That has been a lifesaver during this. Believe me, $10 a month and you get access to dozens of different promotions, thousands of hours of content, BCW among them. So BCW, Game Changer Wrestling, Beyond, those have been some of my personal favorites that I've been getting caught up on.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you viewing us on there as well. And I gotta ask you, man, is there any particular match that you would like to see inside of BCW?
Oh man. I would really like to, obviously you guys got Darius Carter as the champion. I'm trying to think who might be a good fit for him.
Somebody could be outside of BCW, anybody.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe a new foe appear for Darius Carter. Maybe somebody from the West Coast. I think that could be interesting. Again, talking about pooling those resources, reaching out broad in the community.
Yeah. Because, listen, independent wrestling is everywhere, man.
It is.
And we're going to get back at it. And right now, Alex, I want you to plug anything that you want to plug. Give us social media links, anything. The floor is yours.
Yeah. You can definitely, the biggest support I could ask for right now is just to follow our social media pages. We got facebook.com/Invictus Pro Wrestling. And then you can follow us on Twitter at Invictus Pro WRE1. I should probably change that to something that rolls off the tongue a little easier, but not too great at Twitter. Maybe I can hire David Starr to help me out. He's very good at Twitter. So that's INVICTUS. Means unconquered in Latin. And it was funny. I was talking to one of my wrestlers the other day, and he said, he's like, on the other side of this thing, you really picked the right name. And I was
unique.
What do you mean? He's like, we really are going to come out on the other side of this unconquered. And I was like, yeah, I just picked it at the time because I thought it sounded cool. But
dude, stars are aligned, man. I'm telling you, I got faith in you and your company. I appreciate you jumping on. If there's any last things you want to talk about, anything you want to say, the floor is yours.
Just thank you for having me, man. I can't wait to hang with you and the boys after this whole thing's over, and keep up the good work. Honestly, this is something that I look forward to every week. So,
dude, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate those kind words as well. Alex, hang in there, bro. This is going to pass. I promise you. And I can't wait, man. Can't wait.
You as well.
Enjoy. God bless you and the family. Talk to you soon.
Big shout out to Alex. Thank you so much for spending some time with your BCW family, and I wish you nothing but the best with your future endeavors and embarking on a journey into this great business, this business that we all love, the business of pro wrestling. And right now, it's time to shine that light on the stars of this great business, independent wrestlers. Please support indie wrestling.
BCW fans, what's up, man? It's Jurassic Juggernaut Vince Steele, the best big man in the business. Just to let you know that I'm home, I'm safe and sound during this epidemic that we're going through. Hope everybody follow suit with all the precautions, social distancing and everything like that. But when this thing is over, I'm gonna come back to BCW and get that crown of being king of the monsters. And then after that, make my way up to the BCW Heavyweight Championship. And best believe, the best big man in the business, and soon to be king of the monsters, will be BCW champion. If you want to keep in touch with me, follow me on my social media, facebook.com/Vince Steele, or slash Jurassic Juggernaut. Jump on my fan page, show me some love. Instagram, Steel Vince. That's all you can reach me on. So I hope everybody be safe and follow the procedures. And I'll see you guys soon once this thing is over.
What's up, BCW faithful? This is Satsujan Squad member Chris Barton here. Hope everyone is safe. Hope everyone is healthy during this pandemic going on right now. I was asked to update everyone about how I'm doing and how's my family doing and stuff like that, and what's been going on. And honestly, I've been great. My family's been great. I think during this time it kind of brings out the pessimistic side of people. Because there's a lot of negative energy going on. You see a lot of negativity on the news and stuff like that. But to be real honest, I've been nothing but positive. I feel like the wrestling world kind of needed this break, and I know that's a messed up thing to say, but to be honest, I think this pandemic has been providing people with a needed break. People who have injuries have time to recover. People who may have lost those creative juices now have time to be able to sit there and kind of come up with something different. People who may have even lost the passion, can have that passion regrow again, because I do believe absence makes the heart grow fonder. And when you're away from something you love for so long, it makes you love it even more. It makes you want to come back even more. I feel like when we all come back from this, we'll be a lot more hungry and we'll have more of a drive to do this. And I just think it's going to be a lot of good, to be real honest with you. And, when BCW comes back, Ugly Ducklings, we're not finished with this. We are going after those BCW Tag Team Championships. And me and Dominic De Niro are going to be the very first BCW Tag Team Champions. With that being said, hope everyone stays safe. You guys can find me on Instagram at official_Chris_Barton. You guys can find me on Facebook at Chris Barton. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Beast_Barton. Hope everyone stays happy and everyone stays safe. Later.
We're going through a time that we've never experienced before. And there are a lot of individuals who are out of work, especially independent wrestlers. And they don't have a regular 9-to-5 job. A lot of them, this is all they have. So I'm urging you, if you can, please support your independent wrestlers. Support indie wrestling. But right now, faithful, they're giving me that go home. They're saying, ring that bell, Jimmy. It's time to wrap it up. And as the curtain comes down, I want to tell you that next week we will have another interview, another sit down with a faithful fan, and more independent wrestling talent coming your way. And remember, folks, BCW, Breed Combination Wrestling, is where the future lives.